PPRNradio.net, the station that's home with your wife. While you're at work, we keep her company. We keep her happy. PPRNradio.net, the station that's home with your wife. While you're at
work. We're back. I was going to do this other intro, but it's too long, and why bother? It's been so long since I've been on. What's up, everybody? I'm back after a year. The chat room. Let's see if there's a chat room. There's a chat room. So if you want to, I'm going to put a link in. If you want to, like, let's say the 2024 call in, I'm going to put a link. You can join the show with us. You can talk to Phil and I. Phil used to be the producer of my show who got me some really, hey, Ricky. Used to, does this sound good?
Sounds good to me. Do I sound good
Ricky,
to you?
Does it sound good? Answer. All right. Okay. So Phil was my producer who got me a lot of interviews and really was an inspiration to. Thank you, Ricky. Ricky's not part of the show this time around. If anybody's wondering where she is, she's in the. I live in a house that looked like the Golden Girls used to live here, so she's in the living room. I'm out in Illinois, so. But Phil was one of the best additions to the show. If you listen to it, he was around for almost 5 years, 6 years.
Only 2 years.
Only 2 years? That seemed longer.
It was only 2.
So he was with me in Southbury, and then he left us in Naugatuck. So yeah, he was in Wallingford too. I forgot.
Oh yes.
Wallingford, so we forgot about Wallingford. You know, the cat lady.
Oh God, is she still there? I don't know.
You remember her?
Yeah. What was her? Ren was her name? Ren. Yeah.
So Phil got me some legendary interviews. He got me an interview with. I should have got the clips, but I lost all my stuff. So he got me an interview with one of the was it Backstreet Boys or
Joey Fatone?
Joey Fatone.
Oh yes.
And we were doing an interview, and back then we used to drink. We used to drink Fireball like by the gallons. But Phil used to walk in and go, "Oh, dear Lord, look at all these people." And what happened was we were drinking, and I think when I was doing the shows, I would get bored fast. So there was a point in time where I said to Nick, "So Nick, how was the pussy on tour?" And they hung up on us.
That was Joey Fatone, yeah. And the funny thing is, it was, and we were live too, because all the shows we did were live and they weren't scripted. And you asked about pussy, and Joey Fatone was doing an interview. His publicist was there, and she hung up the phone on us. And we were sitting in the studio in Naugatuck. It was you, me, I think Peter Angelo was with us on that show, and some other guests. And we were sitting there, now what do? We're on live radio, and our guest just hung up on us because you made an off-color joke. And I said, well, let's call back and just pretend that we got disconnected by accident. And we did. And we got back, and Joey Fatone came back on. He was a lovely guy. He even recorded a promo for us. And the next day, his publicist sent me the nastiest email I ever received in my life, saying, "How dare you put my client on the show with this dirty language and these horrible." And I said to her, "Look, I told you this was an R-rated show. Did you even listen to the show before you booked the guest, or you just figured, oh, somebody wants to talk to Joey Fatone, I'll put him on?" But yeah, Joey was lovely, but his publicist was the publicist from hell. Stupidest person.
He was the one that I think he was going along with it. It was his publicist, right?
Yeah, Joey was one. Joey even made a joke. I think you were talking about another sex question. He said, "Oh, well, I'll leave that for Lance Bass." I mean, he had a great sense of humor.
And he was promoting the being a chef or something.
Oh, there was some sort of silly product that he became a celebrity spokesperson for, and we had to agree to have at least 2 minutes talking about this product before we could talk about the music and other stuff. And I mean, that's he was one of the guests we had. We had Jamie Kennedy was called in.
He actually still follows me.
He does. That was a lot of fun. It was hilarious because we had some rock group in the studio with us, And Jamie said, "How many people are there in the studio?" Because I think there were maybe 8 people.
There's always a whole fucking shitload of people.
Yeah, you, me, Big Boy, these guys, and 1 or 2 comics, and he couldn't believe what was going on. The weirdest guest was Bob Backlund, who was in the studio with
Do
us.
you remember that when he came in and
Yeah.
he walks in and he's all serious and he's trying to be. And I'm not a big wrestling fan, and I used to punk him, but was it the girl who swore? Was it Lexi?
Yeah, there was.
Or was it...
We had another guest, Nick Wright. He was a champion bodybuilder, and he brought his girlfriend, who was gorgeous blonde.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I think she had made some sort of a comment, and he took offense to it. He was a complete weirdo until the very, very end. Then he started going all WWE on us, and then in the last 30 seconds, and walked out. So
I remember he's like, "No, I'm not going to be a part of this show when women swear no," and he slammed the fucking table.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing.
I miss pissing people off.
Well, those were live shows, and the funny thing is that so much that's being recorded now is recorded. You don't get a lot of live unscripted shows, and we did 2 shows, 3-hour shows a week. And the wonderful thing when we did the shows, we never discussed it in advance. I would come into the studio about 15 minutes before showtime. You were already there setting up, and you would say, "Who's on tonight's show?" And I had a list of people so you could read their names, and said, "Okay," and we didn't. And no matter what I threw at you, you ran with it. We had a Christian music guest on, Joanne Petty. She was, and the funny thing, you could read people too, because when we were interviewing Joanne during a break, you leaned over and whispered to me saying, "She's dirty." And I said, "What?" I said, "What?" I said, "She's dirty. I'm going to show you." And you started asking more personal questions, and she was dirty. Before she became a Christian singer, she had quite a life, which is a lot more.
It's always the ones that are more Christian. They had like this big drug past.
Yeah.
Because I could smell that from being in that too. But the best parts were, like you said, like we never. And nobody understands. Like PPRN, my career went not as far as I wanted to, but it went. I did PLR. I worked for iHeart for a little bit. I was able to mingle with people up in there. But I think the best of times was when you book guests and I just fucking went with it. Like.
Yeah.
When we had an author for a book and he just sucked, and we used to use that Stewie.
Yeah.
That Stewie thing. "Hey, how's your book going? Huh?
Yeah.
How's it going? How's your novel?" You know what I mean? It was like, and they used to remember one book author he thought he was talking to an actual guest, and it was Stewie. Yeah. It was a Stewie sound effect, and it was fucking funny as hell. But I'll never. Go ahead.
We had a guy. Will Sass, he was the beer snob. He was a beer expert. He brought in a whole case of craft beers for us. I think Leo Petri was with us with Big Boy in that show, and he was sharing all these beers. And you looked at him in all seriousness, and you said, "Do you have any vag flavored beer?" And he looked back at you and he said, "No." And we went on talking about. But he had a great sense of humor, because if you got what we were doing, you picked up the vibe, you had a great time. We had one guest was a drag queen, Mona Lott, if you remember him, her, and we were she got so angry because the jokes that we were making and hung up on us, and so. And it's the damn thing, because people, when they go on a show, especially on a podcast, they don't listen to it in advance. And if they had, then they wouldn't be offended. But I always told people when we booked the show that it's an R-rated show, there's adult language, and just to make sure you're comfortable with us. There was one singer who came on, and I had given them, it was actually a 2-page memo to each guest, so what they would expect. And he said to me, "You are the most organized person I've ever seen in my life," because he knew exactly what was coming on, the type of jokes, and what to expect from us. And he had a great time. I forgot his name, but it was most people who came on the show knew what to expect. And
we were Sonny and Cher, you being Sonny, because Sonny was organized and I was Cher, the outgoing. But it worked. You know what I'm saying? Because I started PPRN in the kitchen, and I just it was. You remember the first episode? I played it a few times.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would ever get as far as it did. And then you came into my life, and we had our problems at one time. But I have never forgotten all the things that you've actually did for PPRN, which was, if nobody understands, if you're just watching now and you're just seeing what I'm doing now, I started this shit back in 2010 when podcasts were just becoming, like, it was still cool to be in radio, so podcasts were just becoming popular, and I've been doing it ever since. And I've been in New York, I've been everywhere, I've broadcasted a lot of stuff, I've done Street Pete, I've done everything just from this. But to a lot of the show's downloads, like at one point we were at 500,000 downloads, and I owe that to Phil. And I'm not, you know me, I don't kiss no one's ass, but when someone does something for me that I really appreciate and I never forget, I'm not afraid to mention it in public and to anybody else that's listening. Like, this show might not be funny today or good for a little while, but it will be, and I'm trusting, because we and Phil were talking before how Howard used to be, so this and that, and then he evolved. I'm not saying I'm not going to be me. I'm not saying I'm not going to be evolved. There's going to be jokes. I mean, my next thing in life is to become a stand-up comedian, so I'm going to test that out here.
You're still doing that? You were talking about that 10 years ago.
I did a couple though, but here I get a story about that. I did a few shows. I did one there's a bar in West Haven that I did it for, and I killed it, and everybody loved me, and I was gonna go back to it. So there's a bar. I was repairing coffee machines at the time. There's a coffee place in Weston or Darien, and there was a little kid sitting in there, and it was right before school, and he was by himself, and I've always had a big heart for things, and he was sitting there, and the owner came by and says, "You have to go." And this kid's sitting by himself, and I started to cry, because I'm like, where is this kid going to go? His parents left him alone at a coffee shop. He's like 9, and he's waiting for the bus, and now you're telling him he's got to wait outside in the winter. So it stuck in my head the whole day. So I went to go do a show in Fairfield at Sea Grape. You know where that is?
Yeah.
And I got on stage, and I fucking froze. I froze, and I said, I got no business being up here. I can't even make anybody laugh right now. Goodbye. I'm leaving. And I haven't done it since. So I had to clear my head a little bit. I moved down here to Florida, and I'm going to just start doing it, because Dave came down. Remember Dave Sheehan? He came down.
Mm-hmm.
He came down and did some stand-up, and I seen the product that's out there. Yeah, I'm gonna be okay. Even if I suck, I'm gonna be okay.
Where
you know
are
what
you?
it is?
Where
I'm in a town called Spring Hill.
What city is that near? I don't know Florida.
That is 40 minutes from Tampa.
Okay.
I'm north of Tampa by a town called Newport Richey.
All right.
I'm not that far from Clearwater.
I know what Clearwater is. Yeah.
I'm on the West Coast, yo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna do that. But it's, you know what it is I gotta get my followers and my reach. I never shut down PPRN. I got so pissed off one fucking day, and I had like 6 people on the show, and I just woke up and I said, "That's it, we're done." I told the mixers we're done. I told the people in my show we're done, because you and I were the only ones that shared anything when it was, you and I together. And I had 6 people, Phil, that didn't do shit.
Yeah.
They didn't share. They didn't do nothing. They showed up, and I'm thankful for them, and I will always love them, but they didn't do shit to share. No one understands this fucking business. You can't just hit share and that's it, and then not do anything afterwards. So that's why I made like 17 promo fucking videos from the time I thought I was coming back on. And now I have people booked until June 1st. I learned that from you. But it's like, in this industry, people don't understand. You can't just stay stagnant.
No.
I don't know.
Well,
I want to be...
Yeah, a lot of the people that we did when we were working together in Connecticut, the bands, a lot of the comics, they didn't really. They had talent but no ambition. I mean, they were great singers, they were great musicians. The comics were mostly funny, but there was really none of them. Maybe 1 or 2 exceptions really had that hunger in them that they wanted to succeed. They wanted to go further. They just seemed to be kind of happy going along, doing these little gigs in the bars here and there. and they're doing their day job, and that was it. And I think that's probably why they didn't share, is because, quite frankly, they didn't care about themselves. They were just doing it maybe to because there was nothing else on television, or nothing to look at on the internet. So
I think they heard about the past shows and all the free fucking Fireball we used to have and stuff.
Yeah. No, but that's why, because there was so much talent. But a lot of these folks, quite frankly, you would have thought, well, by now, some of them would have been at a higher level, and they never got there, and they should have. And I think it's because they just didn't have that hunger. They didn't have the drive to go further and to push themselves further.
It's not a higher level. You're a fucking cover band in Connecticut, and you're dropping music in YouTube. And I'm not saying that there's no talent in Connecticut. Of course there is.
Yeah.
Hello, there's us. I mean, there's plenty of talent. There's Dylan McDermott, for fucking God's sakes. He's got a show again, and he's almost 65. From Connecticut. My friend Mike Berg and all them, all from Connecticut. Connecticut's full of talent. What the problem is with Connecticut is no one wants to fucking get out of there. No one wants to.
Yeah.
They do the 5 same bars, or they do the 5 same clubs, or I'm seeing these comedians that we used to book through my feed, and I still have a lot of people that I used to go through my feed, and it's like, are you really at the fucking Cellar again? Are you really at the fucking the Cast Iron Chef or whatever the fuck they're doing now? It's like, I branched, and you know what it was? I wanted to stay in radio, and I've been sending out resumes down here. But I got to this point in my life, Phil, where I'm like, I'm happy with my riding mower when it's not trying to kill me. But I'm happy with my riding mower and my banana tree and my 2-car garage and my lanai, and I don't know. I want to do this again. I really do. I want to share my talent. It is definitely time to enjoy, Bob. But I want to share my talent because I know I have some talent. And I'm not conceited about it, but I know I can make people laugh. Only because I go to a party and people are like laughing because I'm saying shit. I'm like, that's my normal talking. I don't know what's so funny. Am I that goofy? Is it my teeth or what the fuck is it? But you know what I mean? Like I want to share what God gave me, and I thought I was doing very well with Street Pete, and we always talked about when you get to terrestrial radio, like my bit was like number one. Mm-hmm. And then it got to the point where I'm like, why the fuck am I going shopping for these guys when I can go shopping for my own house? Like, I'm asking them for money, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to pay you. Like, what I did, Phil? I did an old-fashioned Pete. I'm like, fuck you then. I quit. It was Thanksgiving Day. I quit. No, it was the night before Thanksgiving. I quit. I said, I need money to do this. And they're like, no. I'm like, fuck you then. I would rather give in. I would rather not give in and sit underneath a bridge than to, I don't know. Does it sound conceited? I mean, what the fuck it sounds like. Oh, they gave you a platform. They gave you something to do, and you just pissed it away. I said, no, I didn't, because I kept my dignity. You know what I mean?
To use a nautical analogy, you were in the water and they threw you a lifesaver, but they didn't bring you into the boat. So they were keeping you afloat, but they didn't save you, and they didn't treat you as an equal. So that's what you did was the right thing. I always thought you were the best interviewer I've ever worked with. I've been in the media business since I was in college in the 80s, and I've worked with a lot of journalists. And I always loved the interviews that you did because, as I said, we never prepared in advance. Nothing was scripted. You didn't even know who most of these people were before they came into the studio. And you picked up on people, and you got them, most of them who had a good sense of humor. You got them to laugh. You got them to speak. You got great stories out of these people. One of my favorite interviews that you did was a friend of mine, Greg Coase. He was an editor at Wikipedia, and that was the story about Crisco, if you remember that one, on Wikipedia, where they had this gay activist who was heavy into the bondage scene, who insisted on rewriting the Wikipedia article on Crisco to include half the article would be how he and his bondage pals were using Crisco, which is not the way the Nabisco folks intended it to be used. And it's funny because a couple of years later, there was a singer, Seamus McMullen, who was a guest on the show.
Yeah.
He just said to me on Facebook, like, "Oh damn, I remember that thing with the Crisco episode. It just stuck with it." Yeah, it was just so funny because you were
couldn't
able.
use my mother's Crisco because she used to save it and then pour the bacon grease in it, and there'd be chunks of bacon in it. So,
Oh, I'm sure this guy would have loved it. Yeah. But the point is,
that,
when you speak to people, you see the problem with a lot of interviewers today is they don't listen. They just speak. They pause for the guest to get through what they need to get through, and they go to the next question, whether or not it's connected to anything they say. You see that on a lot of late night TV today because folks like Kimmel and Fallon and Colbert, they just have their questions written for them in advance. They ask it. The guest says something, and they go on to the next one. And they're not listening. Where you go back to the older shows like Carson or Dick Cavett, they're clearly listening to what the guests have to say, and they often know when to step back and let the guest be in the spotlight, which you did endlessly on every show that we had.
if you're just tuning in, Phil Hall, he was a producer of mine back in the day. He did. I'm waving to you. He did a lot of things for PPRN, but he's also he wears a lot of hats. He does a movie review show up in Thornton, WAPJ.
No, actually, it's not. You're confusing me with something else. I had a movie podcast, which I had on SoundCloud for a number of years, but I have a talk show on WAPJ.
That's right.
Out of Torrington, Connecticut. It's called Nutmeg Chatter. It's on every Sunday at 3 p.m. But you can hear the episodes online at nutmegchatter.com. And it's like what we had at PPRN. It's a wide variety of guests that we have on the program.
You do it live?
No, I pre-recorded because that's one thing I learned. I learned that from doing PPRN is if you can avoid doing it, because what we were doing was a comedy show. This isn't a comedy show, so I need to have something done just to make sure that everything is okay. So I would love to do it live, but unfortunately, also too, because we have to submit stuff in advance before it could be arranged into the schedule. So this
go ahead. He also is a writer. You want to give some of your credits for the writing? I know you're an investigative reporter.
I'm an investigative reporter. I'm the editor of something called Weekly Real Estate News. I've written 11 books. I'm working on my 12th book right now. I wrote a radio play and acted in it. I've been in some movies. I can't hold a job. So I've done too many things.
Yeah, you're like a gypsy.
Oh, yeah. Could say
gypsy or Jamaican? What's politically correct to say?
I don't think I'm not. I don't look
a
like
Jamaican gypsy. Can you say
Jamaican
that?
Gypsy? No, not a Jamaican. No, and not a gypsy. No. But it's that's what I've been. And the 2 years I was with PPRN were two of the best years of my life. It was a lot of fun working with Peter and the other people who are on the show with us, and all the guests that we had over the years. It was. It wasn't even work. It was really fun. And sometimes we would, at the end of the show, just sit in the studio saying, "My God, did we do this?" Because we had so much fun, laughter, songs.
How did you put up with us drinking though? That's like, we drank.
Well, I had no choice. Either I put up with you drinking or I didn't do the show. But I didn't.
The show started like this, and then by the end, you can tell.
Yeah.
If it had like a meter. The beginning of the shows were like level, and then you could tell we started drinking, it started to go down.
Well, when we did the shows out of Southbury, we had a lot of metal bands as guests, and that's when there was a lot of heavy drinking. And what I used to do, I'd be the last person to leave the parking lot because I'd let all you guys who were overdoing it in Fireball to get into your cars and go out on the road, and I'd wait a couple of minutes, like, all right, now it's my turn to go, because this way I'd rather have you way ahead of me than behind me. So if I'd pass a wreck on the road, I'd know, oh, he was on PPRM tonight. So
I don't understand how we never got DWI in Southbury, because they have that cop there that's very famous for that. So
yeah,
I gotta shave. That's bad.
Yeah, you do need to shave. Don't you? You also want to grow out a beard and mustache. Yeah.
No, I
gotta shave.
This is the weirdest mustache. Look at this.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't grow here. It's like I had a car accident or something one time and it just stopped growing. It's the weirdest thing. Like, hair doesn't grow there. It's the stupidest thing.
There was a Mexican actor, Cantinflas, had a mustache like that, where it was no skin in the middle and just hair on both sides of it.
Have you've seen it like that before?
I've seen that, yes. It's not common, but I've seen it.
We have a guest coming on, Lisa, in a few minutes. She's going to go over some veteran stuff. I asked her to come on while you were around because she was asking for some help or where she can go to promote her thing. And I said, Phil might know. I didn't promise that you would know. I just said you might know. So
I'll
Lisa
help if I can. Yeah,
I
I
appreciate
don't.
it.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
So would you ever do that type of thing again with the way we used to do it? I mean, as far as like, I asked myself, can I still do what I used to do as far as shows?
It
Being married now and being older. You know what I'm saying?
it depends. I mean, I sometimes you could look at it as a lightning in a bottle type of a situation where it was just so magical at that time that we couldn't really replicate it. Uh, I would think there'd be more spontaneity if there were people in the studio with you, as opposed to having us do it on a split screen like that. Because that's one of the joys we had, was having so many people in the studio and so many different personalities too. Because when I used to book the show, I tried to bring in at least a band and a comic and maybe a filmmaker or a writer or yeah.
We
And
had the weirdest group of people in the same room. It was so funny.
we had one of my favorite shows. We had a guy, Adam von Gutkin, if you remember him. I think he had a vodka line that he was talking about, and he was there. And we had a couple of comics. We had a beautiful lady singer whose name escapes me now, unfortunately, but she was really sexy. All the guys were looking at her with their tongues hanging out.
Jordan,
And uh, no,
the
I
blonde
forgot.
hair.
She had reddish hair. She was
Oh, she
she's
has
in
red curly hair. I see her. She's still on my feed.
yeah,
Shit. What's her name? She actually made it to a band called The Mix, I
yeah.
believe.
Forgot her name, but she was there. It's like you try to have different types of people on you. If you're going to have just like five comics, it's not going to be funny. Or if you're just going to have a couple three singers, it's not going to be. So I wanted, every time I was booking the shows, I tried to have different types of people who came on. Think one of the very best shows we did this in Naugatuck. We had the Balkan brothers, who were they were
Oh
great.
yeah.
They were phenomenal. I think they did the final third of the show was a concert they did, and it
Two
just blew us.
guys that did the most sound with just two people.
Yeah, and they just blew us away. And but we also had Joe Minetti was on the show. We had my friend Carmen Capobianco, who sadly had passed away recently.
Oh really? I
And
didn't know. I'm sorry to hear that.
that was about a year or so back. He had passed away. And Storytime Bob was with the show at the time, and it was a nice mix of people. And so
Do
it's
you
not like
remember Bob?
you know what? It is something I need to apologize for something, because there's one thing I did which was intentionally nasty, and I'm not an intentionally nasty person. But this is short of after I left the show, and I didn't leave in the best of circumstances. But I still would listen to the show every now and then just to see what was happening in my absence. And Bob was performing one of his ballads. He had these long ballads, and he used to sing in that kind of wonderfully croaky voice of his. And I decided to call into the show.
Knock it off, guys!
Yes, you had the call-in number. So I called in while he was in the middle of the song, and he's going on like this and singing, and then you have, and he stopped and he started cursing for about 5 minutes. Like, who the fuck is this interrupting my song? And it's like, I know I probably got his blood pressure way up to his roots of his hair, and it was an intentionally nasty thing, and that's not me. And so, if you're listening, I'm sort of sorry. It was funny. I still think it's funny.
If you're not gonna listen to my music, I'm not coming back. God damn
Yeah,
it! He walked out he must have walked out like 8 fucking times. He must have. I swear to God, he's broken up with me more than fucking my ex-girlfriends have. It's ridiculous.
Oh my!
It got to the point where it was funny, but then it got to the point where he started to make it political now. So, if you guys are just tuning in, it's Phil Hall. He used to be my producer. He's got his own show in Torrington on Sundays. Go check that out. WAPJ, the Nutmeg
Chatter.
The Nutmeg. Okay, the Nutmeg what?
Nutmeg Chatter.
Chatter. Nutmeg Chatter. You can look it up online. I guess WAPJ must, advertise it. He's written a few books. You can just Google them, right?
And just yes, and to answer the actually the woman that I was talking about was Gracie Day. She was that.
She's on my. She's still on my thing.
She is, yeah. All the guys loved her, and you know what? The funny thing about that show, and that was actually a very meaningful show for me because I had a friend at the time. His name was Daniel, and he was listening to the show, and he was going through a terrible time at home. And during a break, he texted me, and then I asked if it was okay for him to come to the studio to hang out, and you said yes. He came down from where he was living in Torrington, actually. He came down to Wallingford, where we were. Gracie was lovely to him. Ricky was lovely to him. And by the end of the evening, all of his sorrows and his problems had evaporated because how nice everybody was in the studio to this guy. He even got on the air at the end of the show just to say hello.
Remember the death pool? Were you around when we did the death pool for Bob?
I might have been. I don't recall
that. Bob just says, remember we had the death pool? Mm-hmm. And we thought he was done and he didn't show up for the sports show. He called in an hour or two. Yeah, we had a death pool. Like we were seeing how long it would be before he died. I still got the money, as a matter of fact. That's all right here. I think it was like $1 or $2. So I don't know where Lisa is. I don't know if I just messaged her. So we'll keep going. That's what you know. What we're no stranger to that, right, Phil? People booked and never.
Oh, people book who didn't show up. Yeah, we had that. One time we had a guest. There was a comic from Massachusetts, and there was a band from Long Island, and they were both late. And we started the show without these. It was like for 15 minutes we were just talking among ourselves. I think Jonathan 6A did a song, and then finally they both came at the same time. The comic was awful. I think we threw him off one of the few guests we actually threw off the show. If you remember this guy, I think he was making very inappropriate comments about how do you feel about people dying and all sorts of unfunny topics, and we just asked him to leave. He said, "You're just." I think even Jonathan was like, "Dude, you're pissing me off. Get out of here."
Can you remember the song Big Boy used to sing?
Oh yes, "Howling at the Moon." What was this? It's like Tennessee Whiskey or something like that.
Tennessee, and then it was also. Oh, there she is. Okay. It was also Wonderwall.
Well, yeah.
Wonderwall. Lisa.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Nice to see you.
You too. I'm trying to get the good layout here. Hang on a second.
Yeah, take your time.
No, we can't use that one. Not that one. I don't want my big face. I want your guys.
We'll put Lisa's big face. People have been looking at us for long enough.
Okay, I'm going to try to... There we go.
There you go. Go, Lisa.
Yeah, we'll talk to Lisa so no one can see our faces. How's that?
Well, I don't want to just stare at myself.
No, you only see yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's kind of creepy. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, that one's a good one. Hi, Lisa, how are you? Looking lovely as always.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Changed from school.
Oh, thank you.
So Lisa is from, anybody knows where I grew up, from Naugatuck, so. Lisa's also a singer, by the way.
Yes.
So if it was 6 years ago, Lisa would have been someone you would have called, and we would have had her in studio. But how's that going, anyways?
What, the singing?
Yeah.
Good. I kind of fell back into it because I did it, actively when I was a lot younger, and a producer that I used to work with was like, "You should be singing." I'm like, "I'm too old." He's like, "No, you're not." And then next thing I know, he had the keyboards and just kind of fell back into it. I'm having a lot of fun, more fun now than I did when I was younger.
Well, whatever moisturizer you're using, keep it. You look very.
Thank you.
And that's not me flirting. Trust me, that's just me being.
Just Dove and Vaseline.
Is it Vaseline, really?
Yeah.
See, if I put Vaseline in my face and I tell people, there'd be so many jokes.
Hey, as long as it works, who cares? And the joke will be on them.
I know, but look at my face. I'm 54. I'm not going to ask you your age, but we went to school together, kind of. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I always thought you were a year younger than me.
88.
Yeah, so I graduated 87.
Yeah. So okay. So you
Yeah.
graduated with.
Well, yeah, because I'll be 55 in December.
55. Wow.
Yep.
What happened to our town? Like everybody's gone.
I don't know.
Did you move out? Did you
Yeah, I
get
live
out?
in Southbury.
Southbury. Oh, with our old studio, home of our old studio. So,
Yeah.
all right. Lisa is on here. She wants to discuss a veterans. What is it about now? I want you to explain it
Fundraiser.
because I'll screw it up. So.
Sure. So I'm having a fundraiser for veterans on Saturday, May 25th, which happens to be the Saturday before Memorial Day. Um, I'm doing it in conjunction with Mission 22. They are a nonprofit organization, a national organization, but they have a chapter in Naugatuck. So I hooked up with them. The reason being, I'm a real estate agent by trade, and I've been in the real estate business for over 30 years, and I work with vets all the time. And it wasn't until my dad got really ill that I realized the hoops that they have to jump through just to get their monetary benefits and their health benefits. And it's ridiculous and it's crazy. And I think that most civilian people don't know that. And since going through all this stuff with my dad, I started asking my clients, hey, how long did it take you to get, your benefits? I had one person tell me the shortest I've heard was 6 months, which was a rarity. Everybody else is like, 3 years, 16 years. One guy said 30 years. And it's just not okay with me. So the reason why I want to do this, we have some dignitaries coming in things, and I just want to make people aware so that we can do something to change it. It's just not okay.
So where is it being held? Because I don't think you said where it's being held.
It's at a place called 88 Keys in Watertown.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that a piano bar over there by the old Timex?
It's not by the old Timex. It's near, if you're coming from Naugatuck and going all the way up 63 till you make the turn onto where Watertown is, by Carvel there. It's like in the plaza across the street, not across the street, right next to like Burger King. It's a really nice little joint. He did it up really nicely. And they have
It's right
live
next to
music.
Burger King. So it used to be the across from Carvel.
Yeah.
The old
Well,
Carvel. It's
not
even
exactly
Carvel
across, but
just go to Watertown. It's 2024. You can find it.
it's a really nice
88
venue.
Keys.
He has he owns another restaurant, which of course I can't think of the name of right now, but they have live music Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so 4 nights a week.
So
So
why is this so dear to you?
because my dad is a Vietnam vet. I hadn't seen him in person. We talk on the phone, but I hadn't seen him in person in years. And every time I would go to see him, now I know why, but he would always kind of start something that would make me go, okay, I'm not going to come see you. So my sister kind of sounded the alarm. A childhood friend of his from Trinidad had said, I'm concerned about your dad. He's really skinny. So when I went to see him, what came to the door was not my father. I had gone with my aunt, thank God. And it was this thing. I hate to say it, but, my dad's 6 feet tall and he probably weighed like 95 pounds. He had a huge mass of necrotic flesh on his head that smelled awful. The house was in disarray. It was just.
I think that's why when you called me that day, because as we get older, I mean, things always captured my heart. I always had a big heart. I was always the goofball in Naugatuck, but I always had a big heart, and I always cried at things, and I always had a heart, but I always hid it because growing up, I grew up Portuguese, so Portuguese, your mother is you're fat, and that's it. You're this, you're that, and it put a lot. I think that's where a lot of my comedy comes from, is my childhood. And then grew up in Naugatuck when you're Portuguese. People didn't realize what Portuguese were, so we were kind of treated like any other minority race in Naugatuck, and all that thing stuck with me. But when you were talking to me about your dad, first of all, I live like literally down the street from him, but we live in what they call a red state, which is always big on veterans. And what got to me, huh?
I said supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly, and they're building all these vet hospitals. But what got to me is these guys alone. He's got no, like, you said the electricity was all messed up, and where is the Phil? Can you answer this? Where's the hospital? Where is the programs for vets? And I'm not going to get into a tirade about the migrants and everything, and then getting help. And where is the help for vets? And why are we ignoring them? Not we personally, but why is the government not putting them? If they lose a shoelace, that fucking president should be, not the president, but his people should be at his house with a shoelace. So why are we putting all these money into these beautiful hospitals, and then we're hearing stories about Lisa's dad?
Well, I hate to be negative about this, but the quality of healthcare that veterans received has always been substandard. My mother mentioned back in the 1950s when she had went to visit at a veteran hospital. It was out in New Jersey. She couldn't believe what she was seeing there. And so, as with any government-run operation, it's not going to be smoothly done. It's not going to be correctly done. It's not going to be done in a holistic manner. And the veterans have always been on the fuzzy end of the lollipop, so to speak, in terms of getting the quality of care that we need. We do have veterans hospitals there, but as with the rest of the healthcare system, they're understaffed. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough nurses. And the veterans really aren't front and center saying, why aren't we getting the care that we deserve? A lot of these men and women suffer in silence. And
let me just interrupt you for a second there. So what happened with my dad, which I'm finding out has happened to other people, when he was younger and would go to the VA, he would say, I would ask him questions and he's like, oh, I never go to the VA. It's a problem. Always a problem is what he said. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. What happened with him was didn't exist as far as they were concerned. So when I went down to the VA clinic in Brooksville with his DD-214, which is the discharge papers that you get when you leave the military, the guy was like, well, he doesn't exist. I'm like, well, I'm here. He's my dad. Here's his DD-214. He does exist. So thank God this particular guy made some phone calls and somebody had dropped the ball when my dad was discharged from Vietnam. But in the years since, nobody ever just said, okay, if you're a veteran, come with your DD-214. And maybe it wouldn't have gone on, because his is a complicated story. He had some financial difficulties after the crash of 2008, didn't tell anybody. But the one thing I do have to say is I was pleasantly surprised when he finally got into the VA system, the healthcare anyway, and the guy pulled strings and just did it right away, which I think helped to save my dad's life. But anyway, when we got to the Tampa VA, you have to picture, now my dad was so skinny that he couldn't sit still for very long. He would he said, oh, I can't sit still. And he knocked on his butt and it sounded like that. So I knew if they said, oh my God, you're so sick, we have to admit you, or had to wait 4 hours, there's no way. So I had to run in. I ran in crying with a picture of my dad. I said, this is my dad. He needs help. You can't tell him he's going to be, admitted. And from that point on, it was the best experience that I've had. The guy was like, it's okay, sweetie. Nobody likes being in the hospital. They saw him right away. They treated him with dignity. The smell was not pleasant. And nobody was like, oh my God, what's that smell? They just treated him with dignity and respect. At least that particular VA hospital. So, and then the next day, I had the plastic surgeon was calling me, psych was calling me before I even got there. So that part, at least in Tampa, I have to say that hospital was fantastic. The clinic in Brooksville, the guy Myron Meeks, was fantastic. That being said, I just talked to one of my clients today here in Connecticut, and he was telling me he's got some health ailments. And I asked him about the VA hospital. He's like, oh, I never go there, ever. He's like, it's totally awful. And so people hear all these things, but nobody's doing anything about it, number one. Number two, I came across a picture, I think I told you this, Pete, of my dad that I'd never seen. He was in C Troop, first Cav in Vietnam. They had a website. So with all this going on, I got to know a little bit more about his service. And I came across a picture of my dad in Vietnam with 2 other guys, spitting image of my son, my 18-year-old baby son, who I would have never thought they looked that much alike, but down to the mannerisms. So you're taking this innocent baby, sending him off to war, and he did his time, and it's not a normal circumstance. And then you come home, you have to fill out paperwork about PTSD, which asks you, do you know who got killed? And it's crazy. It shouldn't be like that. I was in a war zone. That's all you need to know, and
yeah, we call that Waterbury. Anything off of Willow Street is a war zone. But no, I can hear it in your voice that, and you know what, Phil, it was right when I started turning PPRN back on, she just called me out of the blue and didn't realize, and this is what gives me goosebumps, didn't realize that it was me.
Yeah, we were talking.
PPRN was me, and she's like, "Oh, Peter Pinho, yeah, makes sense." Yeah. which is really funny because we Phil, this is like to you too. PPRN made a dent. We reached people that we didn't even know we reached, and she just called a random radio station or whatever, and lo and behold, was a old school friend. You know what I mean? But that's that's kind of like the inspiration. Look at the goosebumps. The inspiration I got to start this back up again. And I'm glad I never deleted the PPRN page because we would have never had Lisa on tonight. So that's awesome. I hope we can help you. I hope a lot of people show up. If you guys can go, Lisa, send me the pamphlet or something. I can put it on our page. You guys can go to this event. When is it again?
It's Saturday, May 25th at 88 Keys. So my full band is donating.
Damn it, I'll be in there a week after. Shit. Wait,
actually, the week after.
Is that Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah. It's the Saturday.
I might be able to show up because I think I'm flying in the 24th.
There you go. 7 to 10.
Let me see. I think it's that week. I'm not sure. But
it'll be fun. So I'm going to have a couple of vets talk about their experience. But I want to make it fun, too. So the band's going to be there. There'll be food.
Are you going to sing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of woo 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 kind of music, or
we do everything? So we do jazz, we do 80s, 90s R&B, do some Beyonce, Janet Jackson, Earth, Wind and Fire. Well, I don't sing the Earth, Wind and Fire. My keyboard player is absolutely amazing. He also sings. Everybody's in there is amazing. They've all toured with big name people, and it's phenomenal. And they're all coming up from New York, which isn't a hop, skip, and a jump, but they're doing that to try to help me bring some people in. And the Naugatuck mayor said he's going to be there. There's going to be a feature article in the paper. I'm trying to get the news to cover it as well, but having a hard time with that. But
Phil, any suggestions she can share it to?
Well, yeah. After the show, contact me off of Facebook. I'll make a connection because I used to work as a publicist, and I publicized PPRN when I was with the show. So anything I can do to help, let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely.
Bob Clark said, hold on. Bob Clark said, tell Lisa Kid they are doing raffles for the event to hit up local golf courses. They will donate anything for the veterans.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, Bob? Call in, Bob. What the hell? Yeah, if you go to the Hopbrook Golf Course, I know Brian Nixon is he's the pro there. You can talk to him too. If he can't help you, he knows somebody that does.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, no problem. What else is there? Who else can we talk to? That you go see Carlos Santos at the Station Restaurant. I know he's a big donator for stuff like that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I work with him.
He's Portuguese too, so he might be a little cheap.
Can't say that.
No, he's a good dude. He
I work with him because I do real estate as well. So he's done a couple closings for me.
I'll talk to Wilson then. Wilson might donate.
I forgot about Wilson.
Wilson Lamas. He's got the real estate downtown.
Yeah, I definitely will. I just hope people, take it seriously enough to come, because I really think it's important. Even whether you're my dad's age 79 and you served wartime, I've talked, you don't even have to be a wartime vet to have PTSD. I mean, I've talked to clients where he said that they were serving in, I think it was Guam. I don't remember what happened, but people were literally, he was in the Coast Guard, throwing babies to him to catch, him and somebody else, because something was going on. Like, how do you get that image out of your head?
I couldn't imagine. I get PTSD from my ex-marriage, but I can imagine.
Me too.
I can imagine the stories that these people see. Like, I had an accident recently where I almost lost my life, but
Oh my God.
just to see someone's arm blown off, or like you said, babies being thrown, or I couldn't do
looking
it.
back,
I would be a
I
drunk.
couldn't do it. And I was talking to my dad, because he'll tell you stories like, oh yeah, and the chopper went down and this one got tangled and I woke up upside down and everybody was gone. Like, he's nothing. But I remember when we were little and you were watching whatever and somebody would die and they'd show him like, die. He would get so upset. He's like, that's not what happens when people get shot. And he would get up and walk out of the room. And I'm like, okay. But I guess, that how do you, so when you go through something like that, how do you have to, the system is designed, as far as I'm concerned, and I've talked to other vets that agree, that they want people to give up and say, you know what, it's too much of a hassle. I'm just not going to pursue it.
Phil, what's your take on all this?
My take on in terms of what? Because now we're going
everything that's going on, like what she said. Like, do you believe? I believe it's going on because we've heard about it. But
I believe it, and I've heard about it. Because we've had military in my family as well, and the problems with the VA hospital, that's going back some decades. The fact that you're doing this, more power to you, Lisa. And it's sad too that, as you said earlier, Pete, that where's the government on this? You see endless commercials on television for groups like Towers, or Tunnels for Towers, where they're building homes for disabled veterans. Why isn't the government doing this? I mean, why does a private organization have to raise funds from the public?
It took someone to lose their own brother to do. Matter of fact, that Tunnel for Towers, I just did a golf tournament for them Sunday, or this past Saturday, and they're building a neighborhood down the street from me. You should try to send them a letter, because that guy's a really nice guy, Lisa. And if your dad's having issues with his house, maybe you can talk to him, because. Or write them a letter. I don't know how to get in touch with them. I'm sorry, but I know they're building 100 houses here in Land O'Lakes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing. The government should obviously be doing more. I just always assumed that the government was doing it, and these organizations were in addition to, but that's not the case, unfortunately. And it's sad. And another thing.
But I think I think the government tries to teach you that they're so in love with you when you sign up.
Right.
And then they just don't want nothing to do with you when you're done, because I think the government is in their head. They're like, you're damaged goods. What the hell are we going to do with you now? You know what I mean? But, and I'm not doing political, but to see someone side of the street with a leg missing, beg for food, and then to see some family in New York selling churros on the subway, and not being, the biggest permit needing place in the world, where you need a permit to sneeze, and they're allowing that, but they're not allowing our own people to prosper. Like, you're just letting these people, I don't know.
You know what really scares me, if you think about it? We're supposed to be the strongest country in the world, right? We're only as strong as our military. If you look at statistics right now, nobody is volunteering like they used to.
20,000 down this year. 20,000.
Right. So if that is the case, well, we know it's the case. Pretty soon, nobody's going to be doing it. Then you're going to go back to the draft. And if you have the draft, it's just, you have to be giving people an incentive to defend our country. Like, we love our country.
College isn't enough.
Huh?
College isn't enough. I mean, free medical for the rest of your life isn't enough. I mean, my son just got, my stepson just left the Air Force, and he's got money every month, and he's got medical every month. It's not the greatest money, but he's only 25.
It's something. Yeah, it's
you know
something.
What I mean? But when he was there, he was living. It's not even the military no more. It's an apartment, and it's a job. Like, we haven't been in wars in like 30 years, but I'm sure every time, somebody brings up Iraq or something. These kids are like, you know what I mean?
Well,
Because
yeah,
I think
I've
they
talked
go
to
there for the
people that-
prestige, not for the actual reason that they're being there. I don't know.
But people get deployed to Iraq. There's people over there now that are doing, seeing things that we just don't hear about on the news.
Oh yes,
Kids
there's
that-
a lot going on, especially in Africa.
Yeah.
We have a lot of forces over there fighting the Islamic separatists, but that doesn't get covered because a lot of it is classified. A lot of it, the media just says, "Oh, who cares about Africa?" So you don't hear about it.
Right. And speaking of classified, I talked to a guy so the Tampa VA, just so you know, if you have a loved one that is admitted to the hospital, they have a place called the Fisher House where you can kind of stay for free. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like a commune. It's really nice. But anyway, he was saying that what also used to happen is if you go on a classified mission, and so you're classified for the military, when you get out, you don't exist either. And again, then they have to jump through hoops to get what they deserve. It just shouldn't be. If it's this easy to send aid everywhere, it should be this easy for people to get what they deserve, period, especially the mental health aspect. I firmly believe my childhood would have been much different if my dad was able to get some kind of monetary benefits and some kind of mental health stuff.
Why does the military sound like a bad marriage? You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's like we used you. You brought your big gun to the bedroom, and now we're done with you because you're damaged or whatever. And I'm trying to make light of it, but I just don't understand. And I'm glad this first show wasn't like off the charts funny, but I'm glad it was also the way it was, and I'm glad Phil was on and Lisa, you came on. I'm glad that I can show my serious side and my funny side a little bit, but it just bothers the shit out of me that we're not taking care of people that died for us, essentially. And if they didn't even physically die, they died coming home. They fucking died coming home. Mm-hmm. And they die every day, every time they walk by somewhere and people are living in hotels for free and they're outside freezing. They die. You don't understand. They die. You know what I mean? Like when it's just like you see your ex-wife and you're like, well, you never kissed me when we were together like that. You die inside. I don't care what. You still at the end you still love your ex. Not anymore. But I'm saying you die when you see the first time you see your ex with someone new. You die. And that's what these veterans are feeling. The government
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think the highest rate of suicide in the country is among veterans.
Of course it is. And that's why
it should be among politicians, of fuckers.
Oh, I wish. Yeah.
Well, so the organization that I'm doing this with, Mission 22, that's what they do is, try to prevent veteran suicide because it's a problem. And you know what my dad said to me? He's like, you're trying to kill. And then one day they say, okay, you can't kill anymore. That's his exact words. And you're like, you're in heightened alert.
We're letting people that barely worked in the private sector fucking run our lives.
Yeah,
and I hate this generation because all we had back in the day was News Channel 8 with, what's his name? The guy who was on your side. Remember
Mike Bogoslowski?
Mike Bogoslowski. That's what we had him. We didn't have fucking Fox News 24 hours. We didn't have all this 24-hour feeds. We had, the Pop Shop has soda on sale for 5 cents a bottle. Oh, go to Uniroyal and get your sneakers for $2 a pair. You know what I mean? Like, I miss those. I hate these days because I get drawn in. And I hate it because I'm like, oh, I just watched this yesterday. Did it change? Oh, well, now they're not letting Jewish kids into the campus. Like, it's just the same shit. And I can't do it no more. And then I come down here to Florida.
In the morning.
Huh?
I stopped watching the news in the morning for that reason because I'm like, I cannot start my day out this negative. I'm like, I want to know.
And I'll tell you right now, the media does a bad job too. And they're like, if you go to Florida, if you're black, brown, whatever, you're going to be in trouble. It's not that at all. There's people down here that just manners. No, that's what I'm trying to say, Lisa. Of course, there's racism everywhere, right. But it's not down here like they say. Oh, DeSantis is saying don't say gay. He's not saying that. And I don't want to get political, Fred. We talked about this. I'm saying is, these guys, they make everything seem so fucking much bigger than it is. Yes, you had the Greeks back in the day, which we'll call them whatever now. I'm saying Like there was countries taking over other countries. It's what happened. The earth changes. It's so much drama. Like you know what I mean? Like you can't. I want to go back to the pop soda days in the fucking. You remember Lisa? Your mother would give you $5 and you had to jump in the bins to find so you would find the red one on the left side and you had to jump in the right side and find that one and hope it was the same size and it was $4 for a pair of Keds.
And you're outside playing all day long.
Yes. Yeah. Squirting ketchup in the farm shop into the ceiling. It was great.
Yep. That was the most
meeting random girls on the hillside path and it was fun.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think Lisa was meeting random girls on the hillside.
No, I wasn't meeting random girls.
No. She didn't have to. She was always, always pretty. Never had a problem in that department. Me, I had to work for it. I had to be funny. I had to stay working out and shit. And I didn't have that luxury of being pretty. So plus, I was Portuguese too.
So we were one of the first black families in Naugatuck. That wasn't easy. It was me and Frankie Brown.
Frankie Brown's. I remember people were knocking down. Like, Browns are up in Rubber Avenue. Be careful. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we didn't need everyone. We didn't need GPSs. Everybody knew where the black people were. It was the funniest things. I swear to God, Phil, you laugh, but it was. And you know what? You can say what you want about Naugatuck. We will fight each other and stab each other in the face, but don't talk about each other. Don't talk about our friends from Naugatuck to us. Does that make sense?
That's crazy.
We will fuck you up if you say something about any of us. But if it was us fighting each other, we would fight each other to the death.
Like a real
That's what
family.
I love about my town. We're a big family.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fights and we had a lot of good times, but you had a town where it was the Portuguese time. In September it was the Sampaio and the St. Francis Fair. Everybody loved the St. Francis Fair and.
Well, it's Naugatuck. Those were the only two things that were really happening. Besides Studio 60, I remember that we used to have so much fun. You remember Studio 60, right?
My brother owned it, remember?
Yeah.
The Studio 60 dance team.
Yep. I remember my parents fighting because my mom wanted to let me go. My dad was like, she's going to meet older boys there. And I was like, no, I won't. But of course, It was a lot of fun.
So my brother opened up this place. He was trying to get a liquor license, but back in the day, Naugatuck wouldn't let you have a license on Church Street because it had to be within 500 feet of a church, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
So he tried to get a liquor permit, and it was within 500 feet, and they told him no. So he opened up a nightclub for 21 and under. And the first night, he had over 1,500 people, and he turned over 1,000 away.
Wow!
The first
night. That I didn't. I know we got in. Yeah. Me and Michelle Carvalho.
2,500 people that night, and but it was an old movie theater that turned into a roller skating rink, so it had the capacity.
Yeah.
Of 1,300 people.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was.
Good music. Great music. Nice crowd. Yeah.
Met a lot of girls there. Oh, you're Manny's brother? Oh. How about a slice of... It was 14, 13. How about a slice of pizza? You think your brother would give me a slice of pizza? Remember? Popcorn and pizza and the glow sticks. We would have glow sticks. And we would sometimes bite down on them and there would be glow. There would be that... I'm surprised we don't all have cancer, but all that glow stuff all over our face. It was the worst, but it was the most fun, man, I tell you.
It really was, man. It really was.
So you still got that wrench?
I got the wrench somewhere in my desk. I used to, here we go.
He still has it. I can't believe it. He still has it.
Oh, yes, because
Bob Dole was running for president.
When I used to do the show with you, starting in Southbury, during the interludes where we would have the commercial breaks or we'd all go out to smoke or whatever, everyone would get on their cell phones, and I hate cell phones, but I had nothing to do with my hands, at least nothing decent to do with my hands. So there was a bunch of tools on the desk, and there was this wrench, and so I picked it up, and I would be playing with it while everyone was on their cell phone, and then I just kept it and went with it. And when we moved the show to Wallingford, I would be sitting next to Peter holding the wrench and actually would intimidate people. Like, why is this guy holding a wrench? And they figured I would. Yeah, it would.
Ricky has a picture of you, her, and the wrench and her boobs.
Oh, the boob. The boob.
Wow. The boob. You had the wrench near my wife's Ricky. So you had the wrench near her boobs and you took a picture. It was like the best picture ever.
Those have those boobs gotten their own zip code yet? Because they really
they're the same. Yeah, they're the same. They haven't changed.
That's great.
They're still the same. At least if you known the show, like if you knew the show before, you wouldn't have called.
No,
you definitely wouldn't have called. It was what's it? 14 years now. 14,
Wow.
15 years.
You want to know something?
With a year off.
This is your first show back after a long absence, and you must be doing something right, because if you look in the chat column, somebody is spamming you asking to promote the show. So
did you see that? Did you see that?
I mean, this is without publicizing the show that much, and here we have somebody spamming you.
And I got 5 live, so you know what? That's good. I don't know what the radio site is doing, but
you'll probably get more in the video replays.
On the podcast too, yeah.
Yeah. When you put them on YouTube and Rumble and all the other stuff.
People aren't radio people after 7 o'clock, so I don't know. That's why I figured I'd do video, TV. People would watch it, and what's everybody doing? And I swore, Phil. I said, I'm not gonna fucking do TikTok. I'll never, ever do TikTok. And a friend of mine, Mel, who was just watching, he owns a DJ service down there, and he's like, you got to do TikTok because that's where everybody is. I'm like, I don't want to do TikTok. I swear to God, I post one video. I only have 50 followers. I post one video and there's like 400 people watching it. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do TikTok.
Oh wow,
400 people. So if you got a TikTok account, Lisa, put that thing up there. You'll get hits from people. Yeah.
I'll definitely promote your event on TikTok. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. It'll be a lot of fun. Good music, good people, good time. A lot of Naugatuck people are gonna come out and support. So.
I hope so. I hope this gets out to Nagi. If you guys are listening on the podcast side and it's not past May 22nd, because what's good about this show, Lisa, they're going to keep listening and listening and listening to it from now until then. So that'll be good to not just, what we have, live today and what the podcast will bring in, but this will forever be, as long as it's on the feed, it'll forever be in people's hearts too. So before we go, Lisa, don't forget to hook up with Phil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
nice
Lisa
meeting
has
you,
a
Phil,
singing.
by the way. We weren't formally introduced because I came on a few minutes late.
That's all good. I sent you a friend request on Facebook, and so we can communicate there, and I'll let you know some ideas I might have for promoting your event.
Awesome.
Lisa, for the people watching, can you give like a 3-second acapella of what you're going to give them at the party, or no?
Or
you're not good on demand?
Oh, I'm always good on everything.
Girl.
Let me think. What can I say?
Tony Braxton? Wasn't that one of your big ones?
It used to be. I don't do a lot of, let's see. I was trying to think of something patriotic. And now I can't think of the song. Not America the Beautiful.
God Bless America?
Yes. Okay. God bless America. Land that I love, and beside her, and guide her through the night with light from above.
Wow.
Thank you.
See? Naugatuck has talent.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Naugatuck has talent. So, let's see here. All right. So, Phil, thank you for coming on. I hope you come on more.
Okay, let me know. I'm always here.
I hope so. Thank you so much. I would definitely like to get you on with some other people that have been on the show before. So, I don't know if you're available next week. Corey's coming on with his dad if you wanted to pop in.
Oh, definitely. I love Corey.
Okay, I'll send you a link. Lisa, you're welcome anytime if you ever want to just come in and chill and have fun or whatever.
Yeah,
you'll see the link there. We're getting more viewers now that we're leaving. That's great. But guys, thank you for a great debut.
Before we leave,
thank you.
Yeah, before we leave, where can people find us online? You're on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch.
Yeah, I was just going to do that. So PPRNradio.net, I made it easy for people my age. Just hit the link live show and then there's a link that says past shows. But I need you to follow me on Twitch. I need you to follow me on YouTube. And I got to get 10 more people so I can go on Rumble. So maybe hopefully after this video I can produce more people and get on Rumble. But just PPRN Radio for everything. PPRNradio.net because some scumbag bought PPRNradio.com and they want $3,000 for it. I'm like,
wow.
An old acquaintance of the show bought it, and whatever. I'm not giving him. I don't care if I make it big and I get billions of dollars. I'll never pay for that name. So .net works just as good. So
Right.
PPRNradio.net, Twitch, Podbean. We're going to be on iHeart as soon as we get 5 more shows published. Spotify, all that. We're going to grow again. So if we can be more informative, Lisa, if you can, anybody that wants to come on, promote their stuff. Like I said, you're welcome anytime. Phil, you're
definitely.
always welcome, as a matter of fact.
Maybe I'll come back on next time and talk real estate.
Yeah, we can do that. Lisa, you know how to get a hold of me. Next week, Corey Michael Ryman. This dude is he's a millennial Jim Morrison.
Wow.
Yeah, it's go check out his Facebook. I love these guys so much, but he's got a blue check on his name. I don't know if Phil understands what that means. Like. Yeah. How funny that is, but he's got a blue check on his name, but they're always doing shows, and he's matter of fact, at least if you can pop in next week, I think the two of you, if you did a song together, that'd be great.
That would be, oh God, yeah. If she
right? That's what we do, Phil. We bring people together.
All right, I'm down.
Yeah, that's me. Come in. I'll send you the link. Come on the show, PPRNradio.net, hit the live link, and then I'll put how to get into the room on the chat. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
We went an hour and 40 minutes, so thank you for. Don't forget to support Lisa. Don't forget to support Phil, WAPJ on Sundays. Lisa, he's got a radio show on Sundays. He pre-records. But get a hold of Phil. I told you on that phone that day he can probably lead you in the direction if he can't help you as far as getting your message out. But I'm down here in Florida. If your dad needs something, you know that. So.
I appreciate that.
I'm
I really
literally 5 minutes from him if he's in Weekiwachi. So,
definitely, I'll keep that in mind. And you'll post the link on your website.
Yeah,
because I sent you the. I'll send it to you again. Okay.
Or you know what you can do? You can post it on PPRN too, because I think I left it public. But this I just had to play this.
We keep her happy.
Oh wait.
PPRNradio.net, the station that's home with your wife. While you're at work, we keep her company. We keep her happy.
I love it. To play that.
That's hilarious.
I paid $10 for that one specifically, but it works. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Catch me on Podbean.
Thanks guys.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a good night. Hope you do well. I'm going to try to get there that weekend. Phil, I'll get in touch with you about next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I appreciate you. Love you. Good night. Stay black, y'all. Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.